Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, a fierce storm sweeps through the countryside, flooding Tuna's small farm and tearing the roof right off her house. As she struggles to save what little she has, Alex rushes through the rain to help her rebuild, his own grapefruit grove already half destroyed by the flood. Through mud, exhaustion, and heartbreak, the two work side by side to repair her home, sharing laughter, silence, and the quiet strength that only hardship can bring. What begins as a day of loss turns into a story of courage, compassion, and renewal. Stay with us until the end to see how Alex and Tuna rediscover hope amid ruin. And don't forget to subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. The storm had raged all night, tearing through the countryside like an angry beast. By dawn, the world outside was unrecognizable. Fields submerged, trees bent, and homes stripped bare by the merciless wind. Alex gripped the steering wheel, rain pelting against the windshield as the truck jolted down the muddy road. His phone buzzed again, Ms. Lon's voice breaking through the static, trembling. "Alex, it's bad. The floods hit the grapefruit farm. The water's rising fast." A chill ran down his spine. The farm was his pride, his years of work, every tree planted with his own hands. He pressed harder on the gas, the tires slipping through the slush as thunder rumbled overhead. When he finally reached the grove, the sight made his breath catch. Murky brown water swallowed the lower half of the orchard. The workers, drenched and exhausted, were scrambling to save what they could, stacking crates, tying ropes, hauling young trees out of the current. Alex stepped out, rain soaking through his jacket immediately. He stood frozen, eyes wide at the destruction before him. Rows of fruit trees, once lush and green, were half drowned in the muddy floodwater. Fallen branches and torn leaves floated in the current. It was as if the earth itself had turned against them. For a long moment, Alex couldn't move. His hands trembled, helpless against the storm's wrath. Everything he had built, the grove, the pond, the dream, it was all vanishing before his eyes. He waded knee-deep into the cold water, calling out to the workers, helping them tie the last few saplings to stakes. But the current was too strong. The ropes snapped. A wave of frustration surged through him as thunder cracked above. When he finally returned home, the damage was even worse. The kitchen floor was thick with mud. Cabinets floated open, their contents scattered. The pond out back was eerily still, its water dark and empty. The fish were gone, washed away in the night. Alex knelt by the edge, scooping up a handful of mud, his throat tightening. The rain had taken everything. Yet as he sat there in silence, watching raindrops ripple across the surface, something inside him refused to break. Maybe it was stubbornness, or maybe just instinct. He stood, grabbed a bucket, and began cleaning the kitchen, one scoop of mud at a time. Each motion was slow, mechanical, but it kept him from sinking into despair. By afternoon, the rain had eased to a drizzle. The wind, now only a whisper of the chaos that had come before. Alex leaned against the doorway, drenched and exhausted, staring out at the gray horizon. His mind turned to one person, Tuna. She lived near the valley, where the river often overflowed, and with a baby to care for? Without another thought, he jumped back into his truck and headed down the muddy path. The journey was brutal. Potholes deep with water, branches scattered across the road. But as the clouds began to part, faint sunlight filtered through, guiding him forward. When he reached Lytuna's small farm, he saw her outside, working alone. The roof of her house had been ripped apart by the wind. Half of it lay crumpled beside the barn. She was knee-deep in mud, digging a drainage ditch with her bare hands, her face streaked with rain and sweat. "Lytuna!" Alex called out. She looked up, her eyes lighting with surprise and relief. "Alex, you came." He ran toward her, breathless. "I heard about the storm. Are you all right, Henry?" She nodded quickly. "We're safe. Just the roof's gone. And the fence." She gestured toward the broken posts, their wood splintered. Alex exhaled shakily, his heart finally easing. But then the weight of his own loss caught up to him. "The grove's flooded," he admitted softly. "Half the trees are underwater. The fish pond's gone too." Lytuna's expression softened. She set down her shovel and stepped closer, placing a muddy hand on his arm. "You've lost a lot," she said gently, "but you're still standing. You can rebuild, Alex. You always do." Her calmness, her steady tone, it reached him in a way the storm hadn't. For the first time that day, his chest loosened. He looked at her, the lines of exhaustion on her face, the dirt on her hands, yet her eyes still shone with quiet strength. Without another word, he picked up a second shovel and joined her. They dug together in silence, the soft rhythm of the earth between them. Each scoop of mud, each cleared drain, felt like reclaiming a small piece of hope. By evening, they managed to channel the excess water away from the house. The air smelled of wet earth and pine, heavy but alive. Lytuna brushed a strand of hair from her face and smiled faintly. "You should stay for dinner," she said. "I'll cook something warm." Alex hesitated. "You don't have to." "I insist," she interrupted, her tone light but firm. "You've done enough for one day." Inside, the kitchen was dimly lit, the wooden floor damp but clean. A small oil lamp flickered on the counter, casting a golden glow over the walls. Lytuna moved around the space with quiet grace, her sleeves rolled up, preparing spring rolls and tomato soup from what little she had left. The aroma filled the air, a simple, comforting scent that eased Alex's tired mind. Outside, the wind whispered through the broken roof. Baby Henry cooed softly in his cradle, his laughter a faint melody that cut through the quiet. Alex sat by the table, watching as Lytuna stirred the soup, her movements calm despite everything. "You shouldn't have come all the way in this weather," she said, without looking up. He smiled weakly. "I couldn't sit still, not knowing if you were safe." She turned then, eyes meeting his, something unspoken passing between them. Gratitude, perhaps, or something deeper, born not of grand gestures, but of shared struggle. As they ate together, the world outside slowly stilled. The rain had stopped. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of wet soil. Alex took a bite, closing his eyes for a moment. "It's good," he murmured, almost surprised by how much it comforted him. Lytuna laughed quietly. "It's the only thing I can make when the power's out." They both smiled, the heaviness of the day lifting, if only a little. After dinner, they cleaned up together. Alex washed the dishes, while Tuna dried them, the rhythm of their movements slow and easy. Henry stirred, and Tuna lifted him gently, cradling him close. Alex watched, a soft warmth spreading through his chest. "I'll come back tomorrow," he said finally. "If the water recedes, I'll bring tools. We'll fix the roof first." Tuna nodded, rocking Henry in her arms. "I'd like that," she said softly. The lamplight flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. Outside, the storm's aftermath lingered. Broken fences, soaked soil, a world in pieces. But inside, something fragile yet steady remained, a quiet bond, the beginning of recovery. As Alex stepped out into the cool night, he glanced back once more. Tuna stood at the doorway, Henry in her arms, the light behind her like a halo. For the first time in days, Alex smiled. The storm had taken much, but it hadn't taken everything. And with Tuna's courage beside him, he knew they could rebuild. Not just the farm, but something far more enduring. The next morning, the air carried a faint sweetness of wet grass and renewal. Clouds drifted apart, revealing streaks of blue sky, the first sign of calm after a long night of chaos. Alex drove back to Tuna's farm, the truck bumping over the soggy trail. Water still pooled in the fields, but the current had weakened, leaving behind a glistening layer of mud that shimmered in the sun. When he arrived, Tuna was already outside, hammer in hand, her hair tied back neatly despite the mess. She was trying to fix a section of the fallen roof with improvised planks, her determination steady even as the wind tugged at her shirt. Alex jumped out of the truck, carrying a toolkit and a roll of roofing tarps. "You really started without me?" he called out, half amused. Tuna turned, smiling through exhaustion. "If I waited for you, I'd be having breakfast under the clouds." He chuckled and climbed up beside her. "Then let's finish it before the next storm decides to visit." They worked in quiet rhythm, Alex nailing down the tarps, Tuna passing tools and steadying the ladder. Every strike of the hammer echoed across the valley, a small victory against the destruction that surrounded them. The roof slowly came together, piece by piece, until the gaps were covered and the house felt whole again. By noon, the sun broke free from the clouds, bathing the small yard in warm light. Tuna wiped her brow, her clothes streaked with dust and rainwater. "It's not perfect," she said, gazing at the patched roof, "but it'll keep Henry dry." Alex looked up at their work and nodded. "Sometimes that's enough. Keeping the people we love safe, that's everything." Her eyes softened at his words, and for a brief moment, they stood in comfortable silence, the sound of birds returning to the wet trees filling the air. Inside, the house felt different now, still damp, still messy, but alive again. Tuna set a pot of tea on the stove, while Alex checked the wiring and fixed the broken window frame. Henry babbled on the floor, chasing a wooden toy duck across the tiles, his laughter spilling through the room. Alex crouched beside him, smiling. "Hey there, champ. Looks like you made it through the storm better than any of us." Henry responded with a toothless grin, smacking the floor with his tiny palm. Tuna laughed softly from the kitchen. He didn't sleep all night. The thunder scared him, but when I told him Uncle Alex would come, he quieted down. "Uncle Alex, huh?" Alex repeated, amused. Guess I've got responsibilities now. You already did, Tuna teased, pouring the tea. You just didn't realize it. They shared a smile, gentle, unspoken, but filled with a kind of warmth that made the day brighter. After lunch, Alex and Tuna stepped outside to check the nearby fields. The water had begun to drain, leaving behind silt and debris. Some plants had survived, bending but unbroken. Tuna crouched beside a patch of beans, still standing strong, brushing the soil gently with her fingers. Look at them, she said softly. They held on. Alex nodded, gazing over the damaged land. They remind me of you, he said. Even after everything, you're still standing. Tuna looked up, surprised, but Alex's expression was earnest. For a moment, the wind carried only the rustle of leaves between them. Then she laughed quietly, breaking the tension. And you're still terrible at compliments. He grinned. I'm better at building roofs than giving speeches. By late afternoon, they gathered fallen branches, fixed the fence posts, and cleared the clogged drainage channel leading to the creek. The work was hard, but shared laughter made it lighter. When Tuna slipped in the mud, Alex caught her by the arm, steadying her. Their hands stayed clasped for a second longer than necessary before she looked away, cheeks flushed. Thanks, she murmured. Anytime, he replied, his voice soft. As the sun dipped low, painting the horizon gold, they sat by the doorway, sipping tea. The field shimmered under the fading light, the sound of cicadas rising like a song of endurance. You know, Tuna began, when the roof came off last night, I thought I'd lose everything. But then I looked around and saw that Henry was safe. The house could be rebuilt. The farm could recover. It reminded me that life doesn't end with a storm. Alex listened, her words sinking deep. You're right, he said quietly. I spent the morning mourning the grove, but maybe I was mourning the wrong thing. The trees can be replanted. What matters are the hands that plant them. Tuna turned to him, her eyes glinting in the sunset. Then let's plant again, together. You help me fix this place, and I'll help you restore your farm. Deal? Alex smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile. Deal. Henry's small giggle broke the moment as he reached for a butterfly fluttering nearby. They both laughed, watching him, the simplicity of the scene easing all heaviness from their hearts. That evening, Alex stayed to help cook dinner. Tuna showed him how to light the old stove properly, something he'd failed at earlier, earning her playful teasing. The aroma of grilled fish and garlic filled the small kitchen. They ate together, sharing stories of their childhoods, of the first storms they could remember, of lessons learned the hard way. When lightning flickered faintly in the distance, Tuna looked out the window, her voice low. I used to hate storms. They always took something from me. Alex's gaze softened. Maybe that's true, but sometimes they give too. A reason to rebuild, or someone to rebuild with. Her eyes met his, shimmering in the glow of the lantern. You really believe that? He nodded. I do now. For a while, neither spoke. The world outside was quiet, except for the rustle of wind through the wet leaves. Henry fell asleep in Tuna's arms, his small breaths steady and peaceful. Alex helped her carry him to his crib, adjusting the blanket gently. Tuna lingered at the doorway, watching Alex with a soft expression. "Thank you. For today. For coming. For everything." He smiled faintly. "You don't have to thank me. I should be the one grateful. You reminded me what really matters." Before he left, he turned to her once more. "Tomorrow, I'll bring nails, timber, maybe even new tiles for the roof. Let's finish this place properly." She nodded, her smile radiant even in the dim light. "I'll be waiting." Outside, the air was cool and fragrant. The storm had passed, leaving the land washed clean, the stars beginning to pierce through the thinning clouds. Alex walked toward his truck, boots sinking slightly into the soft earth. He paused once, looking back. Tuna stood on the porch, holding a small lantern. Its glow framed her like a beacon in the dark. For a moment, Alex simply watched, the image burning into his memory. A woman standing firm amid ruin, her courage shining brighter than the storm ever could. He climbed into the truck, heart lighter than it had been in days. The road ahead was still rough, the grove still half drowned, but something inside him had shifted.